Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Positive Parenthood. Today, we're talking about sharing, grabbing, and taking turns. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Chelsea Haig. I'm so glad you're here. This is our monthly masterclass. Each month, we'll have one of these. And I did record our community one that we did a couple of days ago, but there was some noise in the background, so I decided to re-record this one for you. A couple of other new and exciting things that are happening is that my partner is working on a page where you can access all of these. So that'll be a password protected page and you will have access to it. So if you're struggling with sharing or you're struggling with back to school or transitions, you can go to that page, you can search the masterclasses and find the one you need. We'll stay tuned. That'll be up in the next couple of weeks. So today we're talking about sharing, grabbing, and taking turns, and just what do we do to help our kids get along? And this is something that I hear from parents all the time, that kids are really struggling with sharing, with grabbing, with taking turns. And I feel like I am also a expert in this topic because I have 3 children who are very close in age. And so one of the main things that we deal with is sharing, grabbing, and taking turns. Today's presentation is really about the research, but it's also about my personal experience and what actually works to get kids to cooperate. Okay. So let's just step back for a second and talk about grabbing and what is really going on when you have a child who's grabbing. So I want you to imagine that you and I are meeting up for a coffee date and you bring your phone. Okay. And maybe I forgot my phone or maybe my phone went dead. And so I say to you, hey, I'm going to put this timer on for 2 minutes. I see that you've got a phone. When the timer goes off, it's my turn for your phone. And then I put the timer on. You don't get a say in the matter. I put the timer on. The timer goes off, and then I grab it out of your hands. You probably are not going to want to be friends with me. You might even have a big reaction. And that's one way to think about what we're doing to our kids when we ask them to share things or we force them to share things. So I'm never a fan of forced sharing. I will say, for those of you who have multiples, twins, triplets, sometimes when you have multiples, it might be a little bit different. You might have to do a little bit of forced sharing. But even if your kids are 10 months apart or a year apart, I'm going to try to avoid it. And that's true for twins too, when it's possible. I'm going to try to avoid forced sharing at all costs because it's really not developmentally appropriate. So when children grab, they're grabbing, well, for many different reasons, but they're grabbing because they need something, because they want something, because they can't hold that other person has it and I'm going to have a turn, because from their perspective, they need it and they need it right now. And so rational adult might say, oh, you're going to get a turn in 1 more minute. Like, we're going to get to do this. We're going to get to do that. You just have to be patient. And that's good and rational, but it does not make sense to your little one who wants it right now. So when we think about good development, the capacity to share and to really do turn taking kind of naturally without a lot of adult support really doesn't develop until the end of elementary school. So many of you have kind of a good ways to go before that is going to be part of your life. And before that, you just get to practice setting up the scenario so your kiddos get enough practice at doing this. And part of it is not forcing them to share. Part of developing sharing is recognizing each child as a whole independent being and not forcing them to share. Remember that kids develop empathy through experiencing it. So when you make a child share, it's not very empathic. And so I'm going to help that child. I'm going to support them. And I'm also going to support the child who doesn't have the thing so that I give them the experience of empathy from their perspective, knowing that in the future, it's going to come. Okay, so we learn this through practice again and again and again, going again and again and again around how to be in socially appropriate ways when there's only 1 toy and 4 kids, or when there's only 1 blue chair and everybody wants it. Or when a grown-up has a phone and I'm going to grab it from you. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to grab your phone. But it's good to think about, do you actually share? Because our kids learn so much through modeling, right? So much through modeling. And if you think about it, you might not actually be sharing that frequently in front of your child. So part of this, in addition to thinking about what we're modeling, and know that if everyone's fighting over this apple, maybe you cut the other one and you weren't supposed to have cut it. So now you've got two kids fighting over this apple. If child A takes it and child B grabs it out of her hand, and then the grown-up comes and grabs it out of child B's hand to give it back to child A, what I've just taught my children is that when you're bigger and stronger, it's okay to grab from somebody else. Ooh, that's not what we want. So we're going to stop that. And let me tell you a couple of things. So I want to reset our expectations so that they're realistic. Like lots of us just expect too much. And it's true that expecting that your kids are going to share all the time is probably expecting too much. So I want us to think about, okay, what can we expect and what can we plausibly teach our children in the realm of sharing, grabbing, and taking turns? So what they can learn, a couple of different things. They can learn to ask for things with their palm up. And we'll get into this in just a moment. But when you ask for something with your palm up, you're not grabbing, right? So here you're teaching the socially appropriate thing to do instead of grabbing. I'm not saying don't grab. I'm saying ask for things with palm up. Okay, so I'm giving them the tool that's going to help them in their life. Here is a strategy, and I will tell you, the first time my husband and I went away from our twins, they were about 15 months. We went away for 2 nights, and the girls stayed with my mom. And many of you probably know that my mom and I do positive parenthood together. And when I came back, we were having horrible grabbing situations. When I came back from those 2 nights, she had taught them to ask for things with their palm up, and they were not grabbing anymore. And I was like, that is magic. I need this. So many years ago now, so they were 15 months then, they're 6 now in first grade, and I am still using this. I teach it to kids on the playground all the time. I do it with big kids. I do it with little kids. It is a super great strategy for your children to know that's going to get you on the path towards sharing without this sort of like amorphous, moralistic concept of sharing. Kids need highly specific direction, concrete, right? And moralistic stuff is a little bit too hard to grasp. So ask for things with palm up. They can learn that. They can learn to wait with a song, chant, or routine. Okay, so you could say, every time we have to wait, we're going to sing the ABCs. I saw a family last night that is a Spanish-speaking family, and they use dale, 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 no pierdas el tino, right? So that's the piñata song. But at the end of it, you count 1, 2, and the little boy said, I can do to 7. Okay, so then the whole family sang the song, and they were fighting over who got to be in a swing. Then they counted to 7. So he put that forward. He said, I can do it. And this is a thing they've practiced, right? And when he got to 7, sister got off the swing and he got on. Okay, so they can learn to wait that way, but notice they have to learn. They can learn to express disappointment. So it could be that you said we're going to sing the song, then we're going to see if sister's ready to share the swing, and sister's not ready to share. Okay, so in that moment, they can learn either to sing again, or they can learn to express disappointment. So you might be grizzly bear mad, or you might be, oh well, mad, right? And I'm going to teach them, label them, both of those things. I don't know, today might be a grizzly bear mad day, or it might be an oh well mad day. We'll see. Right. So I want my child to be able to express disappointment in a way that is socially appropriate. Right. And I'm going to label the different ways. And if my child throws himself on the floor kicking and screaming, I'm going to call that grizzly bear mad. And if my child, I'm going to call it that way, and then I'm going to prime the next time. So I might say, I don't know, it might be a grizzly bear mad day, but might also be an oh well mad day. Let's practice. When it's not our turn and we want it so bad, we can say oh well, or shucks, or whatever you say in your family. I also want my kids to learn to celebrate flexibility. So oftentimes parents will say, but I have one child who's always giving the thing up and the other child who's not. And this is especially present, I think, in twin families, right? So I have twins, and one of my twins is always giving the thing up, and the other one is never giving the thing up. And I think we worry because we think, oh, we want both twins to learn, or both siblings to learn to share their stuff and to be able to give things up and to be able to ask for things and to have flexibility. Those are broad goals. And the goal is flexibility. So I'm just going to celebrate that when it happens, and I'm probably going to let it go. I'm going to hold that this is not their final expression of self. It is not the final expression of my child who always gives things up, that she has to always give them up. It is also not the final expression of my child who never gives things up, that she's never going to be able to do it, right? So go in the other direction from the always and the nevers. And celebrate flexibility. So how do I celebrate flexibility? So if I have a child who is always giving stuff up. So an example from my own family would be, we have 3 Stoke high chairs that the girls sit at our breakfast bar. And they're all the same, but who sits in the middle is like a major point of contention. So there's 3 kids. And, we should probably just make a calendar for this and get it over the contention, but we haven't done that. So I have one child in particular who's always moving out of the middle to give it to one of the other 2, usually to her twin. And when she does that, I want to celebrate her. Wow, you are so flexible. Look at that. She's being so flexible. Wow, that's so cool. And then I might prime the other child who never gives it up for that same kind of flexibility. So I might say, I bet tomorrow you are going to be flexible, and you'll know it's okay to sit on either chair. It's okay to sit on the edge. It's okay to sit in the middle, or it's okay to sit on the other edge, right? So I'm going to celebrate that child, and I'm also going to prime the other one forward. Now, the other thing on this list is that I want our kids to learn, and they definitely can learn, about the word yet. So I can teach my child, she's not ready to share yet. He's still learning to share. He's not ready yet. He will be. So putting the word yet in there helps our kids to understand, like, this isn't forever. This is a moment in time, and this is going to shift. So we haven't done it yet, but we'll get there, right? So I might follow up the yet, like, you're not ready to share yet, but I know you're going to be there. We couldn't share today, or we didn't take turns today, but I know you're going to be able to do it tomorrow. You got this. You're such a good turn taker. You're going to know. Right? Sometimes we let brother go first, and sometimes we go first. Right? So I'm always framing it with, like, we haven't done it yet, but we're going to be able to do it. And I totally know you've got this. And I want to highlight that it's not like, I don't know, we can't do this. We can't do it yet. Like, I'm so frustrated, right? It can't be like that. The tone in your voice is, like, so key here. Now, does that mean you always have to have this, like, beautiful, lovely voice, or that it's possible to always be calm? No, that is not what it means. So go gentle on yourself, and know that if you've said something where your tone was off, it's not going to work very well, and you have an opportunity to repair. So you can always go back and say, oh gosh, Mama was getting so frustrated. Gosh, that was kind of a cranky mama moment. I'm working on that. I don't get it right all the time yet, but I'm going to get there. Do you see what I did? I just used that same thing that I'm going to do for my kid on myself, right? So I'm modeling for my kiddo that, like, there's stuff that we all struggle with, and we're going to get through it. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So this is realistic, okay? Especially for your kids who are like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a realistic set of things that you can teach them. So I want to share a story with you about Pop Rocks. I'm trying to figure out where to put this little thing. How about over here? I want to share a story with you about Pop Rocks and sharing and grabbing, okay? And I want to share this with you because it really illustrates, in my opinion, it really illustrates how we can sort of take those realistic expectations and weave them into moments when the stuff goes down, because that's when we struggle. It's not like you struggle, on the everyday when you have one kid and can give them everything. We struggle when there's stuff going on in the moment, right? So my twins, who are 6, were having a birthday party. And at that birthday party, there was a piñata. And accidentally, some Pop Rocks got into the piñata. Now, the Pop Rocks were not supposed to go into the piñata. When we got to the checkout stand, I was like, oh my gosh, there's Pop Rocks. I used to eat those when I was a kid. And then I bought each child a bag of Pop Rocks. And then we had all these conversations about Pop Rocks and like, it's such an 80s candy, you know? And then they stuffed the piñata with my niece and accidentally the Pop Rocks got in. So I made this plan to remove the Pop Rocks from the piñata. So that they could have their own Pop Rocks. And on accident, it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Okay. So what happened is that there was a child at this party who had not really been paying attention to them or their party and had said like, I don't want to do the princess stuff. This is babyish, blah, blah, blah. I know she's not a real princess. We have a princess. So they were kind of frustrated with this child. Okay, so there's a backstory, and I'm telling you the backstory to give you the lay of the land. And then we do the piñata, and one of my kids sees in this child's hand a bag of Pop Rocks. And she goes over to that child. You know, this is her property, her special thing that I bought her. She goes over to that child and grabs the Pop Rocks out of his hand, and they both start crying. And the other mom is very upset. So they're both crying. So I pick my kid up. She's got the Pop Rocks. And the other parent wants to come over and talk about it, but her child is off by themselves sitting. And I engaged the parent more than I should have, right? She wanted my child to apologize. She wanted to say it wasn't right. Of course, it's not right to grab. She's learning this. Sorry, guys. She's still learning how to do this, okay? But in the moment, she's crying. I'm not going to go down this like hyper verbal route of correcting and telling her what she needs to do and making her apologize because she's too dysregulated. And what she needed in that moment was not focus on the grabbing, and she really wasn't ready for repair. What she needed was to feel felt, that I understood that what happened, what triggered her behavior was her feeling like somebody else had her special thing that was hers. So in that moment of dysregulation, I'm going for comfort in. I am cutting almost all language because it's not going to work. If I pick any tool, I might pick the 3 yeses, which is like, oh, you were so frustrated when you saw that friend with your Pop Rocks. Gosh, those Pop Rocks are really special to you. You love them. You got those with mama. Those are yours. You got so mad when you saw another friend holding them. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. I'm going to hold her till she till she calms down. I could have said in retrospect, what I wish I would have said to the other parent was, look, our approach in our family is comfort in. Thanks for letting me know about the grabbing. I'll definitely work on it with her. That's it. Period. I unfortunately chose to engage for like a long time, which made the whole thing worse. But try to avoid too much focus on the grabbing, because remember when we put a lot of focus on something, the attention is very concentrated and could potentially be reinforcing. If I want to address this behavior, I may or I may not, depending on how my child is, have her repair or support her to repair. In that moment, I did not. If I was the parent of the other child, the frame I would give them is, those were her Pop Rocks, and she is still learning. She's still learning how to ask for things with her palm up. So remember when we did that, we can teach them that. She's still learning, and that's our frame. She hasn't learned yet, but she will. She'll get there, right? And we'll get there too. Hey, I see a whole big basket of candy. Let's go see what we can find for you there, right? So I'm going to frame it that way for him or her. And then I'm going to put all of the focus on the positive behavior. Okay. So if I am invested in this relationship between these two kids, what I'm going to do is look for moments when they are getting along well. I may look for moments for my daughter for when she's asking for stuff with palm up. I might look for moments for him when he's asking for palm up. I might look for moments when the two of them were having positive interactions. And that is where my focus is going to be. If I choose to go back, it's going to be like at bedtime or at a quiet reflective moment. And I might say to my child, oof, that was so tricky with the Pop Rocks. I bet next time you're going to remember, if you see someone who's holding something that's yours, palm up. We always ask for things with our palm up. You got this. I know. I saw you do it the other day. You've got it. It was kind of hard at the birthday party because we were all hyped up on sugar, huh? I feel that way too after I eat cupcakes. Okay, so I'm going to keep it light. I'm going to prime forward, and most of my focus is going to be on finding the moments of positive interaction and offering oodles of praise, and then priming forward. Okay, so let's keep it up with the examples. Let's talk about siblings, close friends, and toys. So there's a few things that we know that will not work, okay? So parenting by taking away. So this could sound like, if you can't share, we're not going to play with it. If you can't take turns, we're going to put Candyland away. If you don't play together, we're not ever going to do this again. Do you hear the edge in my voice? Okay, there's not even any children here, and I've got this edginess, okay? And another thing that you'll notice is that all of these statements start with if. Toss the ifs out. If is experienced by your child as a threat, and we don't want that, right? And so just notice that, and we can hold the same thing, but we're going to say it differently so that it feels better, and know that what matters here is, well, the thing that matters the most here is how our child experiences the whatever we say, right? Even if we intended for them to experience it differently. Okay. So, I gave you the example of a child grabs an apple from another child. You grab the apple back and give it to the first child. Grabbing teaches grabbing. So we got to cut that. And, the other thing is, around like the timelines that we sometimes give kids. In 2 minutes, you have to give it to your friend. You've been on the swings for 10 minutes. Now it's time to let somebody else do it. Okay, you can do 4 more swings. Okay, you can do 1 more minute with the truck. They're adult timelines, right? And so I want to collaborate with the child to figure out something that's going to work for them. And I'm going to remember going back to teaching kids how to wait and teaching oh, well, I'm so mad that didn't work out. She's not ready to share yet. Disappointment. So I think a good one to think about for the timelines is, I told you that story of the brother and the sister trying to get into the swing, right? And eventually what worked for him was the song that he knew. And then he articulated, I can wait till 7. Okay. So then it's like they can count to 7. And actually the sister got out of the swing before he even got to 7. So that works so differently than mom saying, I'll count to 7 and then it's your turn. Let's try to avoid that. And we're going to put the burden on the kiddos to tell us or to be involved. So I might say, do you want to do ABCs twice or 3 times? And then we'll see if she's ready. Then the child gets to articulate what they want to do. It helps kids maintain a sense of power, right? And we all need that. We need to feel power in and of and with our own lives. Okay, so if you say to me, I have kids that really need to learn how to share, you have to teach the skill, okay? And you teach it with practice and with praise. Okay, so set it up as a practice. Now here's a picture of my twins cooking breakfast. So the thing they're sharing is that spatula and the, turn taking around, like I stir the potatoes, you stir the eggs, I stir, then you stir, then I stir, then you stir, that kind of thing. Okay. And notice that there's a stove in here. So there's an element of like danger, right? And heat. They could get hurt. And so it's important that they do this in a way that is going to keep everybody safe. So I'm going to set it up as a practice. So the way that I do that is I say, okay, we're going to practice. Here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to prime them. I don't know. Do you think one should sit on the counter and one sit on the stool, or should we both sit on the counter? Let them answer. And then, okay, so what do you think would be a good way to wait? We could, now they're 6. If they're 2, I'm going to give them give them a forced choice of ways to wait. They're 6 though. Do you want to do ABCs or that song in Spanish? I'm going to let them pick. Okay, so when I foster that sense of capacity, of agency, of you are the leader of your life in my kids, and I'm calm and present, so I'm doing this in a time when we all feel really good, It's going to just be so much easier. Now, sometimes people will say, okay, but this isn't when I struggle. I struggle in the heated moments like the pop rocks. I know. In order to get to a place where you can manage the pop rocks, you have to teach the skills in a calmer moment. So in this moment, I'm going to make sure they practice asking for palm up. I'm going to put some language and some melodic intonation into that skill that I'm going to be able to pull on when a pop rocks moment happens. Okay, so I'm going to have them practice. I'm going to say, okay, when it's time to switch the spatula, please. And I'm going to have them say that every time. So we get into the routine, right, of doing the movement and doing the song and practicing. And I'm going to heap on the praise. Okay, so while I'm doing my practice, I'm building strategies. I'm building skills. I'm giving them ways to manage when they can learn. Because in the pop rocks moment, the reason I'm not making her repair, making her do all this stuff, doing all this language is because she can't learn when she's that dysregulated. Here, they're perfectly regulated. And so I'm going to give them the skills here. And then after I get her regulated, the next time we have a pop rocks moment, because there's going to be one, I'm going to pull on the skills that I've taught here in that moment. It's the only way it can work. I mean, there's probably some other ways it can work too, but that's a really good way. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about this across the other slides, but when you are facilitating turn taking or sharing or waiting or anything like that, there's a couple of things I would recommend you do. So thing one, make yourself the most enticing, awesome thing so that the child who's waiting would rather play with you than get the toy. So say there's one stuffed bunny and child A has it, child B wants it, child B is melting down. I'm going to make myself the most delightful thing. Maybe I'm going to sing a little bumping up and down in my little red wagon. And I'm going to put the kid on my legs and bump him up and down. Part of my goal here is that the child who has the bunny is going to come back into the relationship with me so that either they're both playing with me and the bunny thing becomes a moot point, or child A then gets the bunny because the other child is on my legs bouncing. Okay, so make yourself the best thing around. Two, if the child is waiting for a toy, waiting for a swing, wanting something another kid has and the other kid isn't ready to do it, go for a song, a routine. Okay, a game that you can play. Maybe you play Johnny, 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 Johnny. Whoops. Do we want to play it? If you know that game, do you want to play that game 3 times or 2 times? Maybe we're singing ABCs. Maybe we're singing the Dale, 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 No Pierdas el Tino song. Maybe we are singing Twinkle, Twinkle, okay? Give them a way to wait so that they can measure the time. Waiting is so hard because most kiddos can't measure the amount of time. Well, for you, it's probably fine if someone says just a minute and then it's actually 5 minutes. It's too much to manage for kids, especially kids who don't have yet sort of that concept of time. And then teaching resignation. Oh, she's not ready yet. Can you believe it? Let's try again. 3 ABCs. Oh my gosh. 4, 20. Right. So go into it. Be silly. Keep it light. What's helping them to wait is your relationship. Okay. The relationship you have with them. So phrases that I really love for helping kids learn how to share and kind of language that I use. So we always ask for stuff with palm up, palm up, palm up, palm, palm up. Okay, you can be fun with it, saying, she's or you're not ready yet, but you will be. I know you're going to be ready to share that blue-haired Barbie in your lap. You've got this. It's a vote of confidence. Oh, well, she's not ready to share yet. Shucks. Gosh. You can validate. A mom the other day said to me, okay, I do that and then I try to turn them to something else, but what if we're just home and there's nothing to turn to? Okay, there's always something to turn to. You can turn, if your kid is 1 or 2 or 3, you can turn to a pot of water, a pot with water in it. Even a pot of water with food coloring in it. Want to drop some food coloring into this pot of water. Okay, you can turn to outside. You can turn to, this is all done. Next is, okay, you can always turn to something. And then I'll just go over really quickly kind of these tips, things to try to avoid. So don't focus too much on the negative behavior. So Pop Rocks example. Do not focus too much on the Pop Rocks and the grabbing. Focus more on the positive interactions. Otherwise, we risk inadvertently reinforcing the upset. Too much language. I see this probably as one of the most common things that happens to people. Most of the time, adults are very rational and want to explain away and give a reason, and kids just are not there yet. So if it feels like your words are not getting in, it's a good cue to stop talking. Forced sharing, it doesn't really work. It's not developmentally appropriate. I would toss it out the window. High expectations. So go back to that list of expectations that I gave you and figure out what's going to work for you. And then the last thing is letting a child who really wants something have it or win to avoid conflict. So say like a mom and a child or dad and a child are playing Candyland, and the mom or the dad is winning and the child is going to have a meltdown, so they make themselves lose. The thing to ask yourself is, if my child was with their peers, would their peers tolerate this? Probably not. Their peers are not going to make themselves lose so that your kid can win. So if their peers aren't going to do it, you shouldn't do it either. I might prime that kid who's losing Candyland. Oh, looks like I might win here. I don't know. I've got one more turn and there's only 3 more squares. Oh gosh. I don't know if this is going to be a really mad day or a sad day or, oh, let's just play again day. Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to prime them, and then I'm going to be in that moment. Oh, you are so mad you really wanted to win. Gosh, I like winning too. And sometimes I might do that. I'm going to flip it. Oh, looks like you might be winning today. I don't know if I'm going to be really mad. And then I'm going to model what I want them to do. Okay, it takes a lot. Parenting this way is a lot. And I just want to, I'll go back to the first slide. I just want to say, effort matters. Thinking about it matters. Trying and failing matters. So go easy on yourself. Give it some time. Give it some thought. Throw your heart into it. Be super gentle when it doesn't work. Try again. Just like for your kids, you need praise. So be that person for yourself. Wow, you're doing it, Mom. I'm totally doing it. I've got this. I can manage this. I got it. Okay, I'm going to try again. I didn't do that this time. I haven't learned how to do it yet, but I'm working on it. That's why I'm accessing these lectures. Okay, so be supportive of yourself. Reach out to people. Reach out to me. Reach out to a friend to talk about what you could do differently, to talk things through. It's so helpful. I love to watch other parents at the park to see how they manage stuff. Get lots of ideas that way. I've also sent you a PDF. So print that PDF. There's some journaling prompts. There's a sheet to prepare yourself to teach your kids to practice. Fill it out and then go forward, right? You need a plan. Oftentimes we just launch into these things with no real plan, and a little bit of thought is going to make everything so much easier. So I encourage you to download that, print that, and go to it. Let us know how it goes. And just know that this is a really important part of childhood and parenting, learning how to manage some of this stuff and walking it with your kiddos. Take good care. Helping you to build calm and cooperative families is my mission.